Well, I hope my voice allows me. Shouldn't mess around with me this afternoon. Not in for that. This is some special interaction. My name is Raj James Meanwhile, and it's a very fine afternoon to mark here on the frequency of choice. I have seated here in the studio this afternoon the Honorable Commissioner for Education, Akwa Ibom State, Honorable Mrs. Johnson. Good to have you join us here on planetRadio.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon, Akwa Ibom.
Yeah, thank you. How's the weekend first though? How's the weekend?
It was very good.
Thank you. All right, so thank you very much for finding time out of your busy schedule today to join us. We know Mondays are usually very busy, activities from the weekend and all. So thank you for joining. Now, let's begin a conversation with how it's been so far for you since January 2021, if I'm not mistaken, to now as Commissioner for Education. How's the ride been for you?
First of all, I want to thank God Almighty for giving me the opportunity to serve in my state. Also thank His Excellency, the Governor of Akwa Ibom State and the wife for this opportunity, and all Akwa Ibom people have been supporting me in one way or the other. Thank you. God bless you all.
All right. Now, let's get the conversation rolling. The main focus of this conversation is absolutely the state of school infrastructure. During our media rounds, took a tour of some schools recently, two in Nya, in Badini, very recently, the government's primary school in Enikodesien, and in Ensai, and in Natan, Rogaland local government area. And what we saw wasn't very pleasing, hence this interaction. So first of all, I'd like to ask, is government aware, is your ministry aware of the state of some of this infrastructure in our schools, public schools specifically?
Thank you for the question. The ministry has a list of all the schools that need intervention. From even when I was the SSI to the governor, what we do as monitors in the governor's office and monitors from the Ministry of Education, inspectorate units in all the boards, is to go around all the schools, do like a need assessment of number of teachers they need, the infrastructure, and then those that need construction of new buildings, those that require renovations. You take a proper, what should I call it? You do like a list, a report to His Excellency the Governor first, and what he does is to send it to interministerial departments. And there, if you go there, you'll see like a phase-by-phase intervention, planned, those executed, and those in the pipeline. So I want to tell Akwa Ibom people, when you go to a school and you take the pictures, even of the bad ones only, and go to the social media, the ministry, we have a list of all the schools we need to intervene. And if you know that it's not been done yet, know that it's in the pipeline.
Right. All right. So let's talk about the intervention work. You've talked about the intervention in phases, yeah? So let's look at phase one, for instance. What has been done so far in the different phases you're talking about. Let's take phase one, for instance, and look at some of the schools and, of course, some of those projects that intervention work is up and running.
I always say that I like giving data. If you want to calculate in number of classrooms, I like using that so you see the magnitude. We have 5,487 classrooms that has been built and renovated under His Excellency Governor Dom Emmanuel's government.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm giving you the numbers. And then we have, aside the intervention directly from the interministerial department, we have the UBEC jobs, which comes under the counterpart funding. That one, we have 719 classroom blocks. So if you multiply that by say a 6 classroom or 4 classroom block, you are now talking about over 3,000 again. So I think I want to give this government a pass mark for what they've done as an infrastructural renaissance in our schools. I know that when you come into government, you inherit the assets and the liabilities. The government inherited lots of dilapidations in schools. And today, if you go to a lot of schools, it's like construction sites for those schools. So I want to commend the government of the day that they've done well, and to tell Akwa Ibom people that the government is still intervening. Those schools highlighted is already in our list to be intervened. So that's what I came to tell Akwa Ibom people.
All right, now, from the interaction, I can tell there's a database, right?
Yes.
There's a database. So let's get back to the beginning. How many public schools do we have, so we can match that with the number of intervention work done so far, and then we can try to assess, put it side by side, what has been done and of course what's left.
We have 1,430 public schools, primary and secondary, 1,160 primary schools, 254 secondary schools, then 9 technical colleges. If you go to all of them, you have one form of intervention going on presently, and some completed.
Now, before now, you talked about dilapidated structures.
Yes.
So it doesn't mean the structures were not built. There were structures built, and there's been concerted efforts from different administrations by way of investment in school infrastructure. So how come it's gotten, this bad?
One of the reasons you have that level of dilapidation is vandalism. You find out that in some communities, you go there, you see that the ceilings, the roofing sheets have been removed, and even the desks, the seats provided to the children are taken away. So if vandalism can be curbed or completely stopped, I'm sure that we have government property enjoying the correct lifespan that it should. Like now, there was a school that was on the social media last week. And I remember then, it was in January, we identified that school, sent it to Subeb to intervene because they took and supplied the desk. Subeb promised they went into ordering those desks. But then when we now talked to Subeb, they said, is that not amongst the schools, that schools' desks, dual desks were given to them in 2020, year 2020? It was realized that it was. They gave to Etoy, all those primary schools on the way to the airport, and that school. But where are the desks? Not even one. And we went to the village head. He confirmed on camera that some bad youths, it's not all the youths that are bad, go to the school to steal those things. So I'm calling on Akwa Ibomites, village head, village council, well-meaning citizens staying around school properties to make sure you look out for those properties, safeguard them, protect them. This is for these things are donated for the future of our children. So it's not to be vandalized. You don't just close your eyes and look at vandalism going on, and then you go to the social media to attack government. The education we give our children, is said that it should be education for all, and it should be a responsibility of all of us, not only government. We are all called stakeholders. Government is a stakeholder. Parents, teachers, and even society leaders. I'm calling on them to safeguard the properties that we donate to schools.
In case you just come close to Radio Set, we were talking with the Commissioner for Education, Honorable Mrs. Idonis Etiebet, and of course we were talking about the state of school infrastructure here in the States. very much for staying right here. It is planetRadio 101.1 FM. We have the Honorable Commissioner of Education here in Akwa Ibom State. I say that in our live studio, Honorable Mrs. Dominic. And of course, also joining in the conversation this afternoon here in the studio is Obong Dr. Bolton Ipe, JP. Good afternoon. Welcome to planetRadio. Thank you. You have to get closer to your mouthpiece. Yeah, so we hear a lot louder. Thank you very much for joining. Now, government has made a lot of investment in terms of infrastructure in our schools. You're one of the chiefs here in Ibiakoran. And just before the break, we were talking about vandalism being one of the major causes why we have the school infrastructure in the states. It is now across the states now. What is your community? Let's say, for instance, what does your community do, or what steps has your community done, to ensure there is maintenance of some of this infrastructure? For instance, in schools, this investment need to ensure in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, at least we'll still have some of this infrastructure to serve the primary purpose, which is helping the education of our children.
Yes, thank you very much. It's a good thing that the government of Akwa Ibom State have impacted positively in the life of our people here in Ibiakura. But by providing much of this infrastructure in our area. But unfortunately, we have having some group of people who are going into the schools, vandalizing government properties, selling them. You have a group of people who are the people who goes about, enter the school and stay. We have the group of people too who buys those items. And I was privileged this morning to go to the office of the Honorable Commissioner to drop the report. I did not know that she would be here by herself. I don't know whether it's because of the report that she's very fast. But I'm happy that she's here to see things for us.
All right. Now, you've talked about a group of people, young people, some vandalizing, some on the other end to sell.
Yes.
Well, they are indigent, right?
They are indigent.
Yeah, and you know these people.
Yes, through my investigation.
Right. So,
I've known some of them.
yeah. So, what further action have you taken beyond the investigation?
I reported the case on the 21st of last month to the DPO at Idu. But he has affected some arrests.
Okay. All right.
And I also know that I've transferred the case to Ikoropanan.
Okay, that's a massive step.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
We'll talk more about that in a bit. But Honorable Commissioner, let's get back to you now. While putting up some of this infrastructure, you talked about rehabilitation. Some classroom equipment being donated, desks, and all of that. When this is put out by government, is there some sort of partnership, some sort of ultimatum, some agreement, or anything of some sort between the government and the youth groups, the village heads, whatever, just to ensure that this equipment and this infrastructure put in place are kept under the watchful eyes?
We just started that because, like I talked about the Akar one that was viral on social media. Before we went to donate a new set of 100 desks, we had to get in our team, we had the House member, Miss Honorable Neteka, speaking for your state constituency. We had the chairman of SUBEB, and then the village head and the youth chairman. They were the ones that signed for those desks. Because even the village head on air told the same way, thank you very much, village head, this is what we're looking. I never know you went to my office. We had this appointment set since this weekend. The village head confessed on camera that he knows the youth. He has reported them also to the police station. But they made a commitment that going forward, they'll be making sure they safeguard those ones that have just been donated. But then if you go to like that account for, why would you go climb to the roof and remove the roofing sheets to go and sell them from a school? It's not, it's very, very ugly, and to me it's evil.
I also understand, there was a move by government, a directive sometime last year.
The prohibition.
Public schools should be fenced around.
No, it's like I told you, the government of the day is doing well. 400 is the first phase to be fenced around. And if you look around your metropolis, you see the fencing is going on. But another, you heard of the prohibition on the use of school compound, school facilities and compound for social events. That prohibition came because of vandalization of school properties. So the fencing is ongoing, but then we must talk to ourselves, to our village heads, to well-meaning citizens in those communities to rise and safeguard the properties, because it's not very nice. You supply like that one in 2020, all of a sudden we don't have even one. But you see Akwa Ibomites that should go to those schools, especially those ones that are from those localities, they'll rather sit on Facebook when they know. That's why I say God bless like our village heads, because they are rising to the occasion by reporting them to the police station. Like they say, it's a cartel going around selling school properties. So we are going to be doing what you're saying. Every school we go now to donate, like this seat for account 1 would have been donated like 2 weeks before then, but the house member was out of the country. We waited, no matter what was said in the social media, we waited for him to come back. So that one was done, I think last week. We will continue doing that.
It just took us back to the pronouncement, prohibition and social activities in some schools. And
yes.
You pointed to the fact that that's also leads to vandalism in
it does.
Social activities, we still have some in school. So I like to know who gives the authority for such social gatherings. Is it from your ministry? Where exactly does the authority come from for the social events to be done in this public schools?
It was an EXCO decision, the Executive Council's decision to prohibit. So at that council, it was the EXCO decreed, let me use that word, that it must be the Honorable Commissioner alone that gives authorization for any school to be used. That's not on weekdays. The Honorable Commissioner is not given any authorization to give it out on weekdays, but at weekends, and that's Saturday and Sundays, we can give the school compound out with the users signing under the taking with the principal or the head teacher, as the case may be. But we found out that, like in most policies, some people will flout it. So what we do is we don't query, we don't get to an event and disrupt it. We punish the head teacher. So many have gone undergone disciplinary committee. Most have been queried. They have in civil service, you have the queries, the warnings, but they all attract some level of punishment at the end of the day. Like some now, we are looking at after warning, we are going to tell you that you will be demoted, or they take a promotion from you. Those will be implemented. But I want to give it to the teachers, really. At least we've had up to 70% compliance. I was invited to an event last week, Friday, from my local government area. I called the man and said, who gave you the primary school you quoted in this your letter? He said, madam, we are taking it away. We've already, so many people called that they won't use it, even the head teacher. So they had to go and use their compound. And like we used to see when we were younger, cleared the environment, the farm, and all those things. That's what used to happen when you see events, weddings, funerals, when I was growing up. So that we are going back to that. So I will say that 70% achievement of that prohibition is going.
All right, now let's move away from there a little bit. We understand investment in education can't be undertaken by government and government alone. You know, talking investment in infrastructure like this one. And now there's been this call for public-private partnership, well-meaning individuals who have the capacity to step in, and help government in this regard as well. If this were to happen, how much of a help would this be for government, and how much of a facelift would it be the school infrastructure here in the state?
Every opportunity I'm given to talk. Like I said earlier, education of our children should be the responsibility of critical stakeholders, the government, the parents, the society members, well-meaning, wealthy, well-blessed citizens of Akwa Ibom State in Nigeria, in Akwa Ibom State and in the diaspora. You can do this not by investing hugely. Depends on your capacity. I remember last month, it was Reverend Ntia's birthday. He donated on his birthday, 50th birthday, a 6-classroom block for Afodokwa at Afodokwa Secondary School. We were all there. I want to call on others to emulate him. It's not just to go to Facebook, like, I thank Planet for this invitation. It's like whatever you have, you can use to impact the society for good, especially the future of our children, the future of Akwa Ibom, which are these children. So Planet, I know that Mr. Afia, I always call him Chief Afia, told me we'll be doing, from this interview and from what we've said, he will start doing jingles to ask for partnership, quality partnership with government to help in educating our children. You can do this. Let me bring it down. You can donate a school block if you have the capacity to do that. You can donate desk, dual desk. You can even start with as little as 10, which might not cost you more than like 200,000 naira. But this WAEC, government is going to pay from the 500, 600, is paying 870 million to get our children to sit for WASC. And that's huge. And if you add
870 million examination.
No, for all the total number of students taking that examination, that is only the SS3. You understand? You are having like 20,000 and we're having over 50,000 students.
Free and compulsory education. Now, you talked about how much government spends, in the free and compulsory education, particularly with regards to payment of the NAPTIP fees, the wire fees, and so on. But we see here sometimes of, some of those instances where public schools, demand some of these fees to be paid by parents before these children are allowed to take some examinations. What's your ministry doing very directly to check, fish out some of these culprits and punish appropriately?
It's like all we do is monitoring and the culprits sanctions. Last year, I think October, 17 principals, we had the names on the social media and the media houses. They were warned in civil service nomenclature. That means a lot. You understand? So what we do is to monitor. When I resumed in January, we set up what we call Education Sector Disciplinary Committee. We found out that most of the decisions we wanted to take really didn't go well with what is set out in the public service or civil service rules. So if you're here today, let me not let it out of the table. ESCO is already working on reviewing public service rule. But what we have now is that the nuisance value is what we use in the Ministry of Education and the boss to punish and sanction any teacher or head of school that is charging fees. If you hear those fees, it's never WAEC fees. They will tell you full staff fees, all sorts of names. For toilet paper, for this one, for that one. But it's never.
Government pays for the running.
No, government pays subvention. The government just approved 200 million for second term. You understand? Every time they pay, government pays subvention. This subvention is supposed to be used to run the school. So you don't need to ask a child for chalk. Money for chalk, money for toilet paper, money for dusters, and all sorts. So what we do, we report them, we sanction them. There was a time in the governor's office, he had over 200 names, reports. So we're asking that from our own committee, that when you are caught, they will take 2 months' salary, 1 month's salary. We are getting approvals. I don't want to say all that here, but we frown at it. It is a no, and it's totally unacceptable. I've even told the president of ANCOPS, that's the Association of Principals, it's like they will approve subvention. They will put it in the media. They will announce it in their various platforms as heads of schools. You'll see that 2 months after, a head of school or a principal has not come to pick up his or her check. What does it tell?
How did we get here as a people?
Cultism, like I told you, to me, is evil. Evil that we should not allow to continue. Then we got here because some people are not alive to their responsibilities. I must tell the truth here today. If you are a mother or a father and your child in secondary school or anywhere is a cult member, always say that you're not doing what you're supposed to do at home. When we were growing up, that's the time you're talking about, many years ago. You couldn't be a day student and you close at 2 p.m. and get home at 6. And your mother will say, man, come on, it didn't go. My parents, I wasn't a day student. I can imagine what will happen. Even when you close as a university student, my mother will know how long it will take you to come from University of Calabar to Uyo. You understand? You won't go and say, I slept somewhere. And then you come and you tell your mom, oh, we finished school closed at 2. I had to sign some documents and I'm coming 3 days after. In secondary school, it happens. Like, even the societal expectation. Because education is free and compulsory. So everything is about your child. Is for government to take care of. When that child in Aka community, after school, it was almost to 4 p.m. When they killed themselves in the cold, whatever, I had over 20, 30 phone calls in less than 15 minutes, all of them dropping. Mrs. Etiabet, what's happening? What is your children? Oh, because I'm the commissioner for them, they are my children. So the main parents, I now asked one village head of our community, I said, come, have you called the mother? That school closed since 2 p.m. Where was he doing? What was he doing? At some place. Uyo is small. 15 minutes he should be home. So I think it's from the home, number one. And then I'm always calling on teachers. You know, as a parent, they say bring up a child in the ways of the Lord. We think the ways of the Lord is not just to shout and pray and shake. It's to tell them to internalize and practice what that book of the Lord says. But when you're not praying with them, you're not telling them the hard truth about life, they'll just grow astray. I remember then, I still tell my daughters now, my mother will tell you, this university, this school you're going, nowadays, they don't tell their children all that. When you go, be studious. You know that this and this person, you know you should graduate with this honors, you know you should do this. All these things are lacking. So I'm using this to call on parents to be alive to your responsibility of being a parent. One, pray with them in the morning. When they do something wrong, You don't need to abuse them by the kind of maybe beating. But I tell you, if you say kneel down, he won't kill you for some period. If you deny them, I would have given you this dress for Easter, but I'm not going to do it. You understand? Those kind of sanctions, let me call it, correction in love will help them. And then don't be afraid of them. They come back at 7 p.m. Even if your son is taller than you, Ben, sit him down and slap him one small slap and ask him, where are you coming from at 9 p.m.? School closed at 2 p.m. My dear, that you ask me the question, those are the things that are lacking. Don't be deceived. And you have to start this from when the child is 3. Not that they, mommy, give me, you just smile. Some people will go to, if parents can dress up and go to school to fight a teacher, how do you expect the teachers? You know, most of the teachers, some of the teachers, they just sit back and watch because of what can happen. People shouldn't be maltreating, even by correction, but without beating is maltreatment. So I think the olden days values should be brought on, and our children will turn out right. It's the same Akwa Ibom, it's the same kind of parents, but then are we giving the discipline that they need as children to grow upright? No, it's not happening.
All right, now let's go back to Dr. Bolton Ikwe-Jepi, and now we'll talk about discipline. So let's bring it back to the community. It's a great thing, start small. And of course, if it's not checked while it's small, it could magnify to become a huge problem for the society in the nearby future. At community level, what are some of those things, the traditional institution is doing to ensure we leave some of this, small incidences of recalcitrancy, leave it at the board so it doesn't escalate and become a worry in the nearby future.
Thank you very much. I thank the Honorable Commissioner for mentioning a very important issue about private participation. You see, about 2 years ago, up on 30th year, I assisted the secondary school in Ibiapova. He built a powerhouse, installed it with converters. But if you go to the school now, you could only see the relics of those things. They have removed all the wires, and so they have removed even the poles, the electrical poles, and so. So what I'm trying to say is, if we allow this thing to continue, if you nurture a dragon, one day it will grow to devour you. So that's what we are trying to do now. That's where I'm doing it as a priority to find out them and inform the government. Thank you very much.
All right, so we'll quickly open the phone lines now. So if you have questions for the Honorable Commissioner, well, the opportunity is here now. So let's get talking. 090-222-3101, and of course 087-624-8565, 090-222-3101, and of course 0817-624-8565.